Hello everyone, welcome to the Red Men TV. It's the build-up show. Yes, Liverpool going to London on Sunday to face West Ham United. At a rather strange kick-off time at 2:05. Down at the soulless, basically, London Stadium. Speaking of soulless, Liverpool are playing, which is unfortunate. We are going to be speaking about, of course, any selection dilemmas Arne Slot has got. Is he going to ring the changes? Does he want to ring the changes? Has he got the ability to? We were speaking about that in part 2. In part 1, we'll have a little look at West Ham, what they've been up to since the change of manager and stuff like that. And before we do, though, quick message to you. Yeah, we're recording live here on Black Friday, so we've jumped in the mix as well. Our Redmen merch store right now, if you head on over to redmenmerch.com, literally everything on the store is 25% off. So if you're looking for a bargain, whether it be some Christmas jumpers, some t-shirts, books, mugs, whatever you want to get, 25% off. Just a quick note, in terms of the EU and the rest of the world, today, 28th of November, is the last day to guarantee yourself Christmas delivery. So if you want to get something, do it right now. There's a couple of extra days if you're in America, and in the UK it's the 12th of December, but the Black Friday offer only runs until Monday. So if I'm you, and I'm in one of those countries, get yourselves involved right now. Go and get yourselves a bargain, and cheer yourselves up, and celebrate the Reds, hopefully maybe trying to win a football game. Let's find out. We'll do that in due course. Right then, I'm joined by John and by Lewis for this one. That's even in itself, that's a bit Christmassy, isn't it? A little bit of John Lewis. Anyway, I digress. John, I'll start with you. Thanks for me coming in. West Ham, it's interesting with West Ham because they were absolute shambles. They decided to obviously get rid of Graham Potter, which I think a lot of the West Ham fans were delighted with, other than the fact that he had to stop making memes of superimpose them on other people's faces. They brought in Nuno, and in recent weeks there's certainly been a reaction and upturn of form. So 2 wins and a draw at Bournemouth, a game win which, by the way, they were 2-0 up at one point as well, which I don't think a draw at Bournemouth is a bad result for anybody. It does feel like, it'd have been much better to play West Ham earlier in the season than it is now. The new manager's certainly getting his ideas across, and they're hitting a little bit of an uptick in form.
Yeah, he's played a blinder, I think, Nuno, getting that job. Obviously, sort of swept under the rug a little bit with everything that come after a Forest, but his sort of Forest team sort of tailed off at the end of last season, and he's managed to sort of take all the plaudits for that, they're going well, and walk straight into West Ham, seemingly into a squad I think that really in a lot of ways is sort of set up in his image. He's maybe a bit more dynamic than David Moyes would have been at West Ham, but he's certainly in that ilk. It's a very, whenever I sort of see them, I always sort of think any of his teams, they feel very sort of like Mourinho, Benitez, very sort of mid-2000s, you know what I mean? So he's done well, and it's the right type of sort of club and fan base for him, I think, as well, in terms of he's, they want teams to be aggressive, and they want teams to sort of feel like they're under the cosh and fighting for everything, which is exactly the type of thing he can bring them. I think they were all just so done with Potter as well that the relief of him being in just helped. He's like I say, I think he's inherited a good squad, and he's starting to get them a bit of a tune out of them. I haven't caught much of them since he's took over, but I think some of the players that they had, if you like, it felt sort of towards the end of Potter that everything was going through Jared Bowen, and basically if he didn't have a good game kind of thing, a bit like us with Szoboszlai at the minute, then it didn't really, not really happened, but was having a bit of look at the numbers and stuff on the way over, and Callum Wilson's top scorer, he's managed to get a bit of a tune out of him and playing. He's got a few players there who are, who are a bit more dynamic, and like Paqueta, maybe you can sort of look to mirror some of the transition stuff he was doing at Forest, but they've gone from being, I think, along with Wolves, sort of the team everyone was looking at going they look finished, to you look at them now and think actually they'll probably sort of be comfortable, I think.
Comfortable, maybe. I mean, that they've got themselves out the relegation zone, which is a positive for them. It was interesting, John, because, sorry Lewis, I'll come back to you. He starts with that game against Everton, only very early on, gets the draw, and then it goes a little bit sour. So Arsenal, Brentford and Leeds all beat West Ham, which that Leeds result in particular was a real kick in the nuts. But since then, they beat Newcastle, beat Burnley, drew with Bournemouth. Maybe it was just, it's taken a little while. He's found some players, the Callum Wilson thing, for example. Yeah. He's like you mentioned there, getting a bit of a tune out of him. The likes of Paqueta and Bowen look a little bit better now. So yeah, it took Nuno a while, but it feels like he's ground them into shape. And I've always said this with West Ham. I've always been quite surprised how lower down they are on the table, because they've got good players. Those lads I've just mentioned, they're good players. Somerville's a good player. I've always been a fan of quite a lot of them. And yeah, like I say, they're a dangerous team, especially if you're a Liverpool side, which we are, mate, who are low on confidence.
Oh, 100% for them right now, because notoriously, we've only lost twice in the last 10 against West Ham. But I don't know about you, every time we go to that ground, I just think, fucking hell, this is going to be difficult. I don't know what it is, something about it. But yeah, you're right. There's a talented crop of players there. Somerville is another one who I think can go underrated at points. He's third for shot creating actions for them, second for take-ons attempted, second for take-ons successful. So there's a lot of players in that team who can cause us issues, especially the way we are defensively at the moment, where they're actually trying to play in behind. They're trying to play off the shoulder of the last man. They did that against Bournemouth through the middle, worked out for them. Maybe 2-2 is a bit of a harsh one for them, but they're still scoring goals now. I think 33 of their 119 shots this season have came in the last 2 matches. So they are starting to find their feet. And for a Liverpool team right now who we can't buy a win, the worst thing we can be doing is going away to their ground against a team that have suddenly found this run of form under a manager who notoriously in the past has caused us problems. So it's a really, really bad time, to be honest, to be going up against them.
It's interesting because you mentioned Liverpool against West Ham, and quite often, you're right, that their ground has been difficult, but sometimes we've just absolutely pumped them as well. And I always feel with West Ham, and especially since, and it's been a while now, of course, since they moved into London Stadium, is that they not get on their team's back, but they almost give up a little bit like that. You know, because it's a weird stadium and it's so far away, and even like sometimes the white seats just make it look so empty when they've all had enough. And there's been times when that ground in recent years, and it happened to Graham Potter as well, like the apathy from the stadium. But when them supporters get behind their team, John, they can whip up a frenzy in that ground as well. And if this was Graham Potter, I don't think that was ever going to happen. But you are right, it feels like Nuno is starting to lift the mood a little bit there, which makes it all the more difficult for us on Sunday.
It does, and I was having a look, I say, some of the numbers on the way over, and like they're really doing quite well at the minute in terms of aerial. Like, they win a lot of duels, but also they win a lot of aerial battles and stuff, which at the minute, certainly given how we've been handling second balls and stuff, it would worry you. And also like sort of with the knocks that we're carrying in terms of personnel, you know, you're looking at who we're going to have in sort of the middle of the park who's big enough to sort of cope with that. They are a weird team, West Ham, as you say. I've always sort of looked at them, you know, you can, as you said, you mentioned about the squad, like, you can sort of forget that there's a European pedigree there. You know, they've done really well under Moyes those last 2 seasons before he left. And there's a lot of players there. I think when Rice went to Arsenal, everyone sort of thought, like, well, the rest of them just sort of make the numbers up. But actually, we've seen, like, there's a lot of lads there, and they sort of spent the money quite well if they haven't necessarily got the results out of it. But there's a lot of players in that squad that you look at and sort of think, like, well, Leeds, you know, City were linked with Paqueta at one point. We've at various points been linked with Bowen as a few other teams. You know, there's a lot there to sort of work with, I think, as a manager, and a lot to sort of get behind as a fan. If you wanted to take them into being a bit more of a silky team, you've got the players to do it. If you wanted them just to be big and aggressive like they were under Moyes, again, you've got the players to do it.
Souček and stuff like that.
Souček and that. They've always had decent centre-halves as well. So I think really it's one of them where, like, he's slowly going to mould it into his own image kind of thing as the manager. But in terms of being the fan, like, and then the match-going experience of it, like, you can sort of, there's something to get behind. I think it's, without veering too much onto us, like, I think it's probably my biggest criticism, I think, of us this season has been that, like, I don't necessarily know what we're doing. Like, I can't really tell you the story of what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's one of the key things as a fan that you always want. Even if you're struggling a bit, you want to be able to go in and go, well, I can sort of see what they're trying to do, and I can see that they're putting the effort in. And I think that's key, and Nuno's come in straight away and put that back in for them. So it's
interesting as well, Lewis, because I was looking at it and doing a bit of reading on them. The last 2 times they've played away, they've played like a back 3 or back 5, depending on whatever you want to call it. The last 2 home games, they've played more of a 4-3-3, or 4-5-1, whatever. You know, that little fluid formation there. It'll be interesting what he does against Liverpool, because I think if you're Nuno, this is a chance to beat Liverpool, absolutely a chance to beat Liverpool. I don't think you'd need 3 centre backs. However, it is still worth mentioning, only Wolves have conceded more than West Ham. Granted, a lot of that was under Graham Potter, where, you know, they couldn't save a set piece to save their lives. But even if you look at recent results, you know, like I mentioned before, they beat Newcastle, but Newcastle scored. They beat Burnley scored twice. They drew 2-2 with Bournemouth. They haven't kept a clean sheet, West Ham, since that. I'm going back all the way. Jeez, I can't. I'm really struggling. They beat Nottingham Forest in August 3-0. Since then, mate, they've really struggled to keep those clean sheets. So it'd be interesting whether Nuno goes back 3 or back 4, because there's merit in both, and he's got the option to be able to do both as well.
Yeah, he does. They've got the flexibility to be able to manoeuvre between both of them. And I think one reason why I think they might do the back 3 is a lot of our chances at the moment seem to be coming from the wide areas, because the full-backs are bombing too far forward, and Van Dijk and Konate are exposed. Diouf for them at the moment is such a threat going forward. And I think if you've got your 2 full-backs as wide as possible going forward, that could be a real problem area for us. And I think they'll view that. Juve, at the moment, the creating actions, the actual way he's playing, would cause us a lot of problems, particularly on the right-hand side, where you're probably going to have either a midfielder there or an Endo or a Gomez who isn't fully fit. There's no proper right-back there. So I think that as much as they're going to view a back three in a sort of defensive sense, trying to contain, because to be fair, we are creating chances at points. We're just not finishing them, like Slot said. But the back three they're going to use is going to be more in the sense of we can cause Liverpool problems. They're not going to view this as we're the team that've got to sit back and defend. They're going to look to attack us, and giving them that back three with two full backs or wing backs is going to give them a really good chance of causing us problems.
And also as well, if you do play the back three, and it's pretty simple to say, John, but you also get that chance then to have three big centre halves on the set pieces. You know what I mean? And Liverpool's set piece record has been less than stellar. They might get Mavropanos back as well, and he's been out for a little while, but he's due back. So the other day it was Kilman, Igor and Tabido, but they might get Mavropanos back. Somerville missed that game, didn't he, as well? I think he's going to be fine. One of the reasons, again, Paqueta missed that game, he's going to be fine. So yeah, West Ham will have players back that Liverpool definitely have to keep an eye on it. The interesting thing will be, though, it is worth mentioning, and I'll go back to it, John, the conceding of the goals, the conceding of the chances, that is something that West Ham continue to do. You know, Bournemouth scored 2 against them, but they had like 20-odd shots. You know, from West Ham going to 2-0 up, it was all Bournemouth, really. And in the end, like I say, but to get the equaliser, they could have won the game as well, Bournemouth. So for all Liverpool's faults at the moment, and it's mainly at the back, isn't it? Liverpool have continued at least to look a threat. They haven't always converted the chances, which isn't helpful. But you do get the sense that regardless of what Arne Slot does in terms of team selection, whoever plays where, fitness, injuries, that you will create chances against West Ham. It feels like that hasn't changed even under a quite defensive manager like Nuno.
No, I mean, you definitely can create against them. And like, you know, even in recent games, we played well in sort of 20, 30 minute spells before it's gone west. So there's certainly the opportunity to do it. And I think it's sort of... It's the mentality you take into the game, but also it's that, you know, I think it's probably been said a lot lately, but it's like you feel like the first goal in this game is massive because if they score and we concede, like it becomes a bit of a bear pit. You know, do you know we're sort of like having a bad time of it and pile on a bit, maybe try and turn the screw. Equally, if we score, you know, maybe we start to look a bit more like our old selves, as you say, in terms of like going forward a bit more. There's not really anyone in that team, I would say, for West Ham who sort of can put the foot on the ball and sort of take stuff out of it. I think it's, you know, it was noticeable, I think, when we played like, say, like Brentford, like obviously they had Jordan Henderson, and I forget the other lad's name, the young lad that they've got next to him in midfield, but both of them were quite comfortable at sort of going like, all right, we've done sort of 10 minutes of pressure, a few waves, we'll step off a bit here and just put our foot on the ball and just sort of, you know, keep it around the back for a bit. West Ham don't really have that, so I think it's very much a case of it's either they all go forward or there's a gang of big lads at the back and maybe the wing backs when they tuck in who sort of keep it tight, and that's it. So it would be easy to expose them, I think, and they can't necessarily sort of flip between the two quite quickly other than making subs. So there's definitely opportunities there, but I just think it for me it'll all just come down to who scores first.
Absolutely, and it's interesting because any striker worth their weight in gold or any forward with any semblance of ability at this moment in time, Lewis would fancy scoring against Liverpool. You just would, and that's just kind of where we've got to at this moment in time. I know Jared Bowen scored 3 times against Liverpool. I know Callum Wilson's had a few goals against Liverpool. Paqueta's done okay. He's a moments player, but he certainly can go from the sublime very quickly. We've seen him score some great goals. They'll be licking their lips. There'll be times in the past where they've come up against various Liverpool sides. You know, we've pumped West Ham 5s a couple of times in the very recent history, and those lads probably thinking we're going to struggle to get a kick here. But when we're struggling, that also boosts their strikers and their attackers. They'll be licking their lips, and Liverpool again keep saying it. They're going to have to defend better because West Ham do carry a goal threat. They've got lads who can score a goal. And
Somerville as well for Leeds, who beat us at Anfield. So there is talented players there that can cause us problems, and having Paquetá back, like you touched on then, they don't have that person who can slow play down, maybe dictate how they want to play. Paquetá this season, in terms of box-to-box, has been brilliant. He's got the second most shot-creating actions for them. He's won more tackles than any other West Ham player. He's got the most tackles in the attacking third and defensive third for them. So he's going to be the engine in that midfield. And when you've got people in front of you who at the moment are actually using space and trying to run off the last man, like Somerville, like Wilson, like Bowen, having Paquetá in the middle who is creating all these chances for them, they're going to get a lot of chances. And in this ground now, like you touched on there, we've beat them a lot in recent years, big score lines, but we don't have that sort of, it's a cringy word, but that aura about us at the moment where we're going into matches and thinking, you're the underdogs, doesn't matter if you're at home or away, we are going to beat you. You have to try and beat Liverpool. That PSV game, we looked like the side that were away. We looked like the side who were the underdogs. It shouldn't be that way. And going to West Ham's ground, who have found this form now, they've got Paquetá back. Somerville's probably going to be back. They've got Diouf, Wilson, Jarrod Bowen, all these talented attacking players. It's going to be a struggle. And like you said perfectly, it depends on who scores first. Because if West Ham do score first, they've got the defensive talent at the moment. Yeah, they're conceding goals, but they can drop into a back five. And that's when we've notoriously struggled like we did against Burnley this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Liverpool are favourites for the game according to the odds and stuff. But I think West Ham will definitely be fancying their chances of getting something this weekend. Because, that's just where they're at in terms of their confidence, and then maybe a little bit where Liverpool are at as well. Speaking of the Reds then, we're going to look at their team, Arne Slot's selection dilemmas, injuries, fitness, form, all those kind of good stuff. What type of team will he make? Is he going to bring the changes? Should he bring the changes? I mean, Liverpool keep losing, so that might be an option for him. Before we do, though, we're going to go to a quick break. Starting in December, our latest Advent calendar draws are going to take place. 25 days, 25 prizes. Here's Paul Machin to let you know all about it.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. It is that time of year once again. What time of year? Well, it is the great Red Men Plus Advent giveaway time of year. If you head over to redmenplus.com and join or renew or continue to be a Red Men Legend tier subscriber, your name is going in the hat in daily draws in every day up to and including Christmas Day. We've got a range of incredible Liverpool goodies to give away, from pin badges and festive jumpers and books, so many books. We've also got signed football shirts as well. We've got a Champions League final shirt signed by Vladimir Smicer. We've got a Redmen t-shirt signed by Stuart Downing. We have got, for some reason, a 16-17 home shirt signed by Joe Cole and Peter Crouch. Crazy, no idea why, but it can be yours when you join up. And then, of course, we have got the coup de grace. We have got this replica Liverpool shirt signed by Kenny Dalglish and by Bruce Grobbelaar as well. Two men pivotal to Liverpool's European Cup success in Rome in '84, and that can be yours. That is being drawn on Christmas Day. So yes, every single day in December, get yourself in with a chance of picking up a Boss Liverpool themed goodie to add some extra festive spice this Christmas period. Yes, head to redmenplus.com, sign up as a Legend tier subscriber, and you will be in the draws.
There you go, join Red Men Plus as a Legend, and you'll have 25 chances to win some amazing prizes over the course of December, culminating with that amazing prize around Christmas Day signed by Kenny Dalglish and Bruce Grobbelaar, two absolute legends, European Cup winners. What a night that was, and they signed to share for us. You want to use it? Someone's having it. It's not going to be us. One of you are going to have it. If you want to be in the draws, redmenplus.com. Join as a Legend, get loads of extra content, and hopefully Liverpool might win a game. And if they don't, at least you've got like a therapy session with us every other game, I suppose. Speaking of that, then let's talk about the Reds. Then, John, I'll start with you. Injury updates just from Arne Slot's press conference, which was yesterday. Alisson's back. He was unwell, but Alisson's fit and ready to go, which is good news. Florian Wirtz set to train Saturday. They'll make a decision on him, but if he trains Saturday, there's a chance he gets himself onto the bench. Hugo Ekitike is probably unlikely after he went off with a back injury. Arne Slot said it's not serious, but whether he gets a chance to be involved at the weekend, we'll wait and see. Other than that, it's kind of as it was. Frimpong's not going to be back. No Conor Bradley. The manager did mention as well, by the way, Ibu Konate playing through an injury. Didn't train any times before that PSV game. Probably shouldn't have played. I mean, hindsight in that. But Gomez wasn't fit, although now he is training. So it's a bit messy in terms of fitness and form. So I was saying this before. Of the back five, Alisson will be in goal and Virgil van Dijk will play. And by the way, he didn't have the greatest game of his life in midweek, the Virgil, but he is going to play. I think the other three positions are very much up for grabs here, and it's impacted by a lot of things. Konate is my first question then, John. Does he play? Can you play him again? Is it time to go, you know what, Ibu? Again, this news there, apparently Real Madrid don't want him, which isn't a massive surprise, with all due respect to how he's been going this year. But is it time for Gomez a centre-half, or is it time for Gomez right back? And what are we thinking? Because it feels like Joe, maybe, if he's ready to play, probably should come into the team, you'll guess.
You'd hope so. I think it's such a tough one to answer at the minute, because I think it's like you end up second guessing yourself, because I think I think on paper, you would go put him in at centre-half. I think in reality, you'd be looking at something like he'll probably put Konate in and maybe look to put him at right-back because he's the more experienced player. We've had a lot of problem at right-back in terms of, obviously, like, as has been well documented, sort of the, Mo not tracking back and stuff, and that's sort of how open that right side is. Do you want to put a lad there who's coming back from an injury who might play himself into an injury and like he's overexposed there, it's his first game back in and God knows how long, all that type of stuff. So is it better to put him at centre half and do something else there? Not quite sure. If it was me, I'd put him at centre half because I think so many teams now, I think so many teams are onto the fact that like Konate struggles with build up, that it's become a thing that they're just giving him the ball and just saying, we know you can't do much with this. And we can sort of put men on other players around you like Gravenberch and Van Dijk who can. Whereas I think Joe's got a bit more about him and he can play out from it. But I also think it's a bit of a thing as well, like with the player and like I know we're away, but sort of potentially a bit with fans. I think he's in that weird position where he's burnt a lot of people's heads out. And that can happen. Sometimes it's form. Obviously, all the stuff about Madrid around them doesn't really help. But I think it might just be one of them as well for the player where you sort of go, actually, I think just taking him off the far line for a game and seeing what the alternative is kind of thing would help. Because I think, as I say, sort of, as I mentioned in part one, I think a lot of the problem we've got this season is that you can't really look at anything in the team and sort of go, I can see what he's trying to do and maybe it isn't great, but over 2, 3, 4 games, I'll see it get better. And a lot of that is because of just form, but also it's because he's been picking the same lads. And I know his options are limited, but this is an opportunity to give someone else to go and sort of, if that helps fix that problem, then maybe there's not another problem somewhere else on the pitch because they're covering for Konate or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. What that would do, I suppose, it would bring the right back question into play. So in the last 2 games, Sobbo and Jones have both played this, or Liverpool playing in midfield. Again, the injury situation being what it was, it's 3 first choices weren't fit to play, so hard lines there. There's talk maybe Calvin Ramsey can come in, which would be, I mean, listen, Calvin Ramsey, with all due respect, I know he had a good game in the Cup against Crystal Palace, but he hasn't had the greatest time even on loans in the lower leagues, but he is a right back. So it's almost like, if Gomez is going to play, which you think maybe he's fit to do and he probably should do, you're better putting Konate in and putting Gomez at right back, or you're better going, actually, Joe, you go centre back and you take the gamble on a young, like on Calvin Ramsey and just hope that he can get through. I don't know. What would you do at right back? I personally, I think in this game, I wouldn't be comfortable with one of the midfield lads being over there. I think I would rather it be a defender. It's just which one you choose, I suppose.
I'm at the point now where I'm willing to gamble Calvin Ramsey at right back if it means Gomez starts at centre back. The big issue is he's been too stubborn with the team selection. There are people in that team at the moment who are a detriment more so than a positive impact. Konate being one. Calvin Ramsey has struggled. We know that, but he is a right back. And at the moment, in that midfield, after that performance against PSV, we cannot afford to lose Szoboszlai from that midfield. He was the only one who can leave that match with his head held high. And after the interview following the match, Curtis Jones needs to start this game because he seems to be the only one who's getting the fact of, we should be doing better. We've got to put more effort in. I want to be winning tackles. I want to be the first to things. Those two need to start in midfield. So if Calvin Ramsey's coming in at right back, that's fine with me. I don't want Joe Gomez to start there. It is far too early for him, especially like I said before, if Juice's going to be going up and down, he's going to be dealing with whoever's on the left wing, be it Somerville, be it if Bowen drifts out there, he'd struggle with it, I think, personally. So we just need to gamble. If his main worry is, I don't want to bring in Ramsey and Gomez because it's too much of a risk, what are you worried about? Losing matches? We're already losing the matches. Try different things and see if it works. If it doesn't work, we're in no worse position than we were literally a couple of days ago. Just give them the opportunity to showcase what they're about. He said in the press conference before, on yesterday even, these lads need to prove themselves in training to get the opportunities on the pitch. When they're playing, they're putting in good performances. Just give them the chance to showcase that for this match.
It'd be interesting what he does, like I say. I think I broadly agree. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Konate and Gomez.
No, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
I think maybe the Ramsey thing might be a step too far, but we'll find out. Robbo at left back for everyone?
Yeah, I think so.
100%.
Even though Kirkes, to be fair, he had a good spell against PSV, but it is Robbo, I think.
Yes, yeah. I think I probably would agree with that one again. Go back to try and get some defensive facility. My main aim at the moment in time, we cannot win football matches when we're conceding this many goals. No. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit in attack to try and make it a little bit more defensively robust, and that might be where the manager, whether he thinks the same, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Listen, Liverpool's attacking chances and they're underperforming in terms of finishing them, but it doesn't matter really. because we let him threes. We've let 10 goals in 3 games. That has to be priority one. Having Alisson back should help a little bit. But listen, he was in goal when we left 3 in the other day. I don't know. So midfield wise, then Lewis has tipped us on there and said Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Jones, so no Alexis. What are you thinking in midfield then, John?
I'd agree. I think
I'm playing Alexis again
over Jones or
over Curtis. I think, yeah.
I agree on the level of as the player, but I think on recent form. But I also just think in terms of like what he'll be asked to do, I worry a bit for Mac in sort of a game like this, just because I think he's, they're not necessarily like they're not sort of Brentford or Wolves of a couple of years ago, West Ham, but they have got a lot of big lads in the middle of the pitch who will just run into him, and he's not the fastest. I think it'd be different if like he felt like he could sort of get away from them a bit, but I don't think he can. So I do wonder if it is a game where you're looking more for legs rather than necessarily people who go. Then it would be Jones,
because Mac has looked a little bit leggy recently. Yeah. I think it's fair to say. Okay, that's fair enough. Attacking's interesting. Let's start with the centre forward then. It's going to have to be Alexander Isak, you would think, unless Hugo Ekitike is fit, which it doesn't look like he's going to be. I'm not even sure he's going to be fit enough to be on the bench. Which means Isak probably starts, and then you might see a little bit Chiesa later on, depending on where he's at. We're into the end of November now, Lewis. This Alexander Isak stuff. And I understand the season, and then the injury, and the knockbacks and stuff like that. But listen, he should be fit by now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He should be fully fit. And we haven't seen anything. Really, no. It's with me, and again, not always his fault. I go back to the Forest game. No one gave him the ball. He couldn't get in the game, so they're gonna have to figure that out as well. But that's something for everyone to figure out, because if he's gonna play, it's about time now to start making an impact for Alexander Isak, because he's made no impact so far.
I sound like a spoiled fan. We've all supported this club for a long time. This is the least enthused I've been about like a big money sign for us in such a long time. In terms of, he came on the other day, and there was no part of me that thought, brilliant, it's Isak, he's coming on. It's like, it's Isak, all right. And it's not, he needs to be fit, but also he needs people around him who are going to help him. That Forest game, he got nothing. No one was looking for him. There was no passes into him. He was just a passenger. You go to what he did at Newcastle, he thrived because he had Gordon creating for him, Barnes, Murphy, Guimaraes, Tonali, all these players who were looking to create for him. Right now, he's someone who's just thrown into the team and told, right, just try and make things happen, and no one is creating for him. I think it is A, fitness, but it is also B, that he's just not being utilised in the right way, and no one around him is doing it. So if he is going to start, we've got to play to his strengths more. And at the moment, we just feel so sort of, get it to Salah, get it to Gakpo, see if they can do anything with it. And at the moment, there's nothing going to him.
It's interesting because I agree. I thought, especially in the Forest game, it was a bit odd that you didn't touch the ball. I think I could do a day though where TK touched the ball double the amount of times he did in like 20 less minutes or something. The stats were like, in that first half, John. So it can't all be blamed that Isak's got to get himself up and running as well a little bit. And like I say, I thought the other day when he come on, actually, you didn't notice him was the thing.
He was coming so deep just to even get the ball.
It was just a bit of a shambles. But at some point, like I say, this might be too simplistic, so feel free to massively disagree with me. Lad, you cost £120 million, do something. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care. Like, can you have an impact now, please, mate? Because the Ekitike's made an impact. He made an impact the other day. Unfortunately, got himself injured. It's time. Is that too simplistic, or are we on the same wavelength a little bit?
No, I agree in part. Apologies if I've got this wrong, but I think it was Sam Maguire put a really good piece out on social the other week about sort of the setup at Newcastle for Isak and the setup we've got, and sort of how different it is. And it was really good because basically the sort of short version of it is basically that like Barnes and Gordon are wingers who like to go outside and cross. We've got wingers in Gakpo and Salah who love to come inside and dribble, sort of the gist of it. So I've got sympathy for him in as much as like he's come from that setup where everything's set up, as you've said, sort of around him to sort of build the play for him. Whereas at us, he's just been dropped in, and also the fact that we're in the middle of a mad season where everything seemingly isn't working. But I do also think he needs to do more. I think like there's a lot to be said for the fact that like he's a big lad, get on the end of something from a set piece. Even if you are just standing between the two goalposts and like staying within the area, if you get a ball, finish it, kind of thing. Like, if he was providing that, I think people would probably be a lot more happy with him, because you just think, well, all right, he's a 9, you know what I mean? He's not a centre forward, he's not a lad who gets about the pitch and does whatever. But like, look at Haaland, say at City, and what he does, you know, it works out fine, but the team is set up around him to play that way and facilitate it. I think my thing with it, and potentially for this game, and it might be a bit of a weird one, especially given sort of the output, but also the injuries. I think it might be a game where I wouldn't start Gakpo, personally. I think maybe I'd put him on the bench and start Chiesa on the left, Isak and Salah, and see if that works. Either A, because you're getting balls into him, or, you know, you've potentially, if they start Robertson, got Robertson on the overlap as well, putting crosses in. I just think that sort of flat front three, if you like, of Salah, obviously in this game it'd be Isak and Gakpo, like, it's too one-dimensional. It's too... You've got to pick one of them and play to them. You can't do it for all three of them. And I think at least with Salah, you've got the thing of, like, you know, he can always pop up with a goal. We sort of know how he plays, and he's played effectively in the two for most of his Liverpool career, playing with Mane and a false nine in Firmino. So I think unlocking Isak is a big thing for the manager, and it's a longer term thing because it involves probably a lot more change in personnel. But I do think for this game, maybe not starting Gakpo would be a bit of a thing for him.
It'd be interesting, Lewis, because that's the thing a little with Isak, is that he probably his best form comes when his wingers provide a little bit for him, and Gakpo and Salah can, but they're more goal driven, I think, than the, you know, crosses. It's the cut inside inverted wingers thing, kind of like that. So there is definitely a call to, if it's going to be Isak, is he better with more of a traditional winger, with either side. Now, whether that's a Federico Chiesa, maybe, whether that's a Rio Ngamoa who is a winger, I don't know. But I'm with John. I feel like the balance of an Isak, Salah, Gakpo trio at this moment in time, I can't quite get my head around how that would work. But that, as it stands, that's probably likely what we're going to see.
Yeah, it probably is. And it is disappointing because Isak's best performance has been against Southampton when Chiesa was winning the ball specifically to get it to him. That's when Isak's thrived. And against Atletico Madrid, where Wirtz was creating for him. Having Gakpo and Salah, who, like I said, they're very one-dimensional. There's no desire to try and beat a man and square for someone else. They all seem to go into business for themselves in terms of getting the shot off or trying to find the back of the net. It is a very flat front three, and I would like to see just a bit of change. Even, it's never going to happen. I'd love Ngamoa to just get a moment. Because at least when he comes on, we saw it against Newcastle earlier this season, his first thought is, how can I beat someone and make space for myself or for others? That's what he lacks at the moment. That's what we lack. The moment we started going into business for ourselves against PSV and thinking, right, let's just try and take him on. Let's have a go. Let's actually try and get past the man. We started looking positive, like we could score. And in the moment we score, we sit back, go back to what Slot knows best, which is try and keep the ball. Just, you know, take your time, patient with it. We need aggressive players who are going to provide for those around them. And Ngamoa, Chiesa, they are that style of player. So one of them has to start for the benefit of Isak and everyone else, but they're not going to.
No, we'll wait and see. Like, I think I wouldn't play Salah personally.
No, I wouldn't.
But
no.
Because I don't think Liverpool are good enough defensively to have a lad who can't get back or isn't going to get back. And I think my thing at this moment in time would be I would sacrifice the goals that Salah probably can provide and will provide. Yeah. He still created like 5 chances the other day. Like, he can do it, but I don't think we're good enough defensively to have that luxury at this moment in time. Where someone like it would probably have to be Chiesa, and I'm not convinced by him on the right. At least he offers that little bit more.
He busts along to try and get back.
But it's a difficult one. I think the injuries certainly haven't helped.
The other thing I think as well with Isak and just in general with our front line is I think even if he doesn't necessarily contribute with goals and stuff, I'd want to see him sort of up against their centre halves and give them something to think about. Because I think that's going back to the front three thing. Like, Ekitike is a threat in as much as, like, you don't know where he's going to pop up, and he's willing to run in behind and all the rest of it. Isak doesn't have to be that, but go and stand on a centre half and make his game terrible. You know, make him have to think about what you're going to do, and that then means that, you know, we're causing the other team problems and there's more for them to do. And even if I just got to see that from him, I think that would help because, as you've said, like, you know, so many, it feels as if they're all sort of in it for themselves a little bit. And like for Salah, that's obviously worked wonders throughout his career. But at the minute, as you've said, Steve, like he's not necessarily providing the other way. But I even if we just get that from Isak, I really want to see like one of the attackers just be like, even if there's no output from this, I'm going to make your life a misery, and then maybe someone else pops up with a goal.
Even Nunez did that, to be fair. We gave him stick for not being able to finish and missing a lot of big chances, but he was a headache for anyone who was on him because he was so good in the air and he just made them nightmares.
Yeah, try and make it difficult. I'm going to get score predictions in a minute, which will be fun. Very quickly, just this section we go around the Premier League just see what other games are going on. I mean, to be honest, there's nothing I would say that there's not like absolute barnstormers on Saturday. Although, you know, Sunderland, Bournemouth might be interesting. You got Man City hosting Leeds there. We're looking to get back on track. Everton, Newcastle might be a bit tasty actually. At Goodison, not Goodison anymore, is it? The Hill Dick, you know, at the 5:30 kick-off. Sunday is when you got Chelsea, Arsenal. Probably the big game around. Arsenal at this moment in time, Lewis, look like one of the best teams in Europe. Certainly the best team in England. It almost feels like this is the weekend where if anything's going to swing, it would be this weekend, because Arsenal go to a Chelsea team who can beat anyone. Chelsea can. They're a bit of mad Chelsea, but you know, and they won't be writing themselves out this title race either. They're banging it at this moment in time. City should beat Leeds. You get the sense if Arsenal can go to Stamford Bridge and win, you can almost start maybe just heading down towards London with that trophy, because that would be a statement win if they can get that gap. Keep it the same after this weekend.
Are Chelsea, are they 3 points behind Arsenal, is it currently?
Yeah.
I think they're second, aren't they?
Well, they're 6 points behind, but it would be 3 if they beat them.
Yeah, I mean, every season, you go back to us last season, for example, beating City the first time was a big statement win for title push. I think this is the one for Arsenal, because they've faced anyone around them who's going to be major competition. If you can beat Chelsea, the side who are bang on form, look really positive, even without Cole Palmer, they've looked great, so which is a big thing for them. You can pick up that win, and I'm pretty confident they can. They've only conceded 1 goal in Europe this season. They've been brilliant recently. I think that's it, pretty much done and dusted, because they just don't look like dropping. And that even in the past like 3 seasons, they've had that sort of fragility about them where you can see them dropping points. I can't see it at the minute.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think
it's a massive game for Chelsea out there, because I don't think anyone's really considered Chelsea as title challengers. But if they beat Arsenal, they become the challenger, really. You know, they'd be 3 points behind them. Obviously, City would probably be 4. You would guess that they're probably going to beat Leeds United. It blows it more wide open, because at this moment in time it feels almost like it's Arsenal's procession to the title, a little bit like Liverpool were this time last year. Really, everyone kind of was like, oh, maybe, but it's probably going to happen. If Chelsea can win it though, and I think they can, it throws the proverbial cat among the pigeons, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, you've got to try and keep Arsenal honest in this, you know what I mean? And you know, they've got a few injuries and stuff, and obviously I've seen Arteta's straight out with that, like in the press conference and stuff, and where they're at. But you know, Chelsea is such a weird one. Like I don't have many sort of Chelsea fans in my social circle, but from what I gather from the bits I do see online, like some of them are sort of happy with the manager, some of them aren't. You know, they're such a, as you say, such a basket case of a team at the minute in terms of what they do, because they can be brilliant for a few weeks at a time and then all of a sudden just look really weird. But they've got a lot of really good players, and the manager, I think, has proven that, like, even if he's not necessarily like, you know, a sort of a glamour manager, if you like, he can manage it. You know, he's managed to get a tune out of like that chaos that he got given. And it'd just be interesting, I think, just to see it just for everybody else, because I think we benefited from this last season, that like when it becomes a bit of a procession and you're so far ahead, it discourages other teams. So people start showing up and they're already 1-0 down before you even play them. I think if Arsenal are still within touching distance of a couple of teams at the top of the league, like other teams who are going to play them will show up and go, we can probably have these this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how that one pans out to be interesting. Right, then we got to talk Liverpool again. Shane, predictions, because I said the other day, at this moment in time, it feels like we're going to lose every game, and maybe I was a bit raw and emotional at the time. I think if the manager picks 9 or 10 of the same 11, I think Liverpool will lose. My sense is he's probably going to make a couple of changes, which gives me more hope, Lewis. How are we feeling?
Well, he said in the thing, up until this point, I've been sticking with the same people. So maybe he has learned, because he learned from the Forest game and put Jones at right back, Szoboszlai midfield. So maybe he is starting to click, and I might be being very optimistic with it, because what the fuck else have I got to cling to at the moment? But if I'm being positive, I think 2-2 at the minute is probably the most positive I can go.